I just, I personally think it's because conversational AI has not advanced. I think that that's kind of a contrarian opinion. Most people don't think people want to talk to Amazon Alexa like they want to talk to a person. But I kind of think people do if it was possible, you
Yeah.
know. And again, I'm not saying that you want to have like conversations like you would with your, you know, your best friend, but you want to be able to talk to it like you talk to a person and not have to wake it up every time you want to ask
Yeah.
something. And people have just learned that it just doesn't, it's very stupid. So you can only do certain very rudimentary things, right? I'm going to ask it to play a song and that's pretty much it. Maybe I'll ask it to turn it down, but then I'm not going to go into a lot of, you know, extended conversations about it, right? So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's all. Well, what I think, I think I've said it many times. So people who like have heard me, they're gonna probably roll their eyes. He's gonna say it again, which is the
Yeah.
following, which is the following. You know, it's not like trying to go Jupiter. Really, it's like solving very specific problems, like end turn and pointing. Right. I finished my talking.
Yeah.
Right. So when I'm talking to you, you know when I have finished, I'm giving you the turn, and you know when you know, I'm just pausing because I gotta think a little bit. You see, you didn't interrupt me. You didn't say, okay, he's finished, right? You didn't say, okay, he has given me, 1.5 seconds of silence, therefore I can jump in, right? You know, there's a lot of things a lot of obvious cues, right? That you could you're taking in, like when like filler words on all that, the fact
Mhm.
my sentence is not finished, my intonation, all those things. Are very basic specific signals that tell you whether the person has finished talking or not. Okay, now I think 7 years not having made any progress on that is scandalous, and I've written about that. Right, it is really
Yeah.
scandalous. Now, before I wrote a piece that's called Five Scandals and all that, and I'm enumerated them, and it's not only Alexa, it's both also Google,
Yeah.
the same scandals. I wrote a piece that said the miracle, what is miraculous about this far, because it is, to be honest with you, I continue to be, to this day, I will never be blasé by the fact that you can just talk to this thing, knowing where we came from, right?
Yeah.
Knowing so they for me, they accomplished like a miracle, to be honest with you, right? Jeff Bezos and his team, they did when they launched the Echo Farfield, in terms of it understands what you're saying, responds fast. It's just
Yeah.
mind-boggling, right?
Yeah, it
So,
is.
so a team that was able to do that, 7 years later, they have not been able to make any noticeable progress when it comes to just the one problem, which I think is crucial, because that's where people just don't want to talk to the thing, because they feel stressed when, as soon as they launch it, they got to say their thing quickly, so they have to think ahead. And so thinking
Mhm.
ahead, you have to like, it's effort, it's a lot of effort, right? Especially as you get older, right? You have to think, and you
Yeah.
can't stumble, and people stumble. It's natural to stumble. You change your mind, or you want to reformulate, whatever. And the thing is merciless, right? It's ruthless. It says, I didn't understand you, or it goes off. It does whatever
Right.
it can with, right? 7 years. I cannot believe that this problem is a Jupiter problem. I think it's just, for me, how do I explain? So what? Well, how come, right? Here's my explanation. Very straightforward explanation. Just like the fact, just the fact that they were able to accomplish the miracle that they did is because Jeff Bezos decided that it needed to happen. Okay. And he put in whatever money it was needed, and he pushed. And I remember people were like, this is not doable, meaning they were like, you wanted to come back, what, in 1 second, in less than a second, right? They said the best we can do is 5 seconds. And it's like, no, we're not going to launch anything unless it comes back within 1.5 seconds, right? And so they were able to do it. You know, Jeff Bezos was very happy with it, and the year afterwards, he was and then he moved on.
Mhm.
He took his eyes off, right? And so the pressure
Yeah.
to, I think if he had continued with his pressure, they would have solved these problems, because these are not detailed problems. They're not like, they have to do with whether people will use it or not, right? I use it
Well,
only when I have to be honest with you.
yeah, I'm the same way, really. But do you think maybe that particular issue, which I know is a big deal,
Big deal.
it's basically it's the open mic issue, right? I mean, the open mic issue is very difficult for developers because it's hard to control the open mic and to know like how long is the mic going to stay open. But do you think that that goes back to maybe their fundamental fear about privacy? Like the longer they leave the mic open, they're
Yeah,
concerned
of
that
course.
it
Yeah,
might record things, and you know.
yeah, it's part of the problem for sure.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that there's a lot that can be solved. They could have made a bit of progress, a bit.
Yeah.
I don't see any progress.
I
Actually,
guess.
I see progress in Google, to be honest with you, because now I can
Mhm.
stumble with Google and it's a bit robust and it knows. But Amazon has zero progress. I'm sorry, guys. I know you don't like to hear this, but zero progress you have made as far as that's concerned. The
Yeah.
progress I've seen, here's the progress I've seen. I've seen them go and colonize many devices. I think that's where they've spent a lot of attention. Let's go and put Alexa everywhere, 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 everywhere. And so the quality is the same more or less, right? When it comes to user experience, I'm sure they have more things they can do and so on. But in terms of the things like that, you have to invoke it. You have to say Alexa, even when he's talking to you. Let's say I'm talking to you, right? At least then I should be able to interrupt you, right? Because we are in a session, right?
Right.
I can understand from cold. Okay, that's what I do with human beings. When I talk to my wife, say, honey,
Yeah.
right? And then she turns, right? Because she's. But once we're, I'm not every time like honey.
Yeah.
All right. And so there are 4 or 5 problems that are just for me, you know, um, and the consequences are, right now it's in people's head that these smart speakers, they're sort of useful, but they're dummish.
Right. Right.
Right. I don't think we want to go necessarily. I'm not shooting for having a conversation necessarily, right? Across the board. I think we can build use cases like you guys are doing, where one can have conversations, and it's very good. But I don't think that's what we're seeking. We're looking for a tool that allows us to, if it's a multi-turn, I'm able to do it comfortably. And I have, this is not even multi-turn. This is, Alexa, I want to listen to, what is it? What's his name of the artist? Miles Davis. Yeah, I want to listen to Miles Davis. I can't do that with Alexa today. I don't think, unless I keep on.
Yeah, you can do that. You
I
can do that.
think you can do this. You can do this, right? Because I have actually tested it. If I say, I want to listen to, I want to listen to. When I say,
yeah, I remember your blog post about that.
All right.
Yeah.
But if I say, I want to listen to, listen to Miles Davis,
Yeah.
right? It will, because all those are words, and it says, oh, he's still speaking, right? Which is pretty stupid, right? Okay, unless you're stuttering, people do stutter, and then it's good, it works. But then you have to, you're forcing you to behave in a way that's not natural. And so, again, I think Google has made progress, and I really did test it. Like I set them and I did the same thing, and I messed in the same way, and Google has made progress. I think they're working on it, but I'm disappointed in that Amazon has not made that progress. But be that as it may, I think it remains a fact that it was a big moment when the Echo came out. I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, what do you think that some of the issues that you see with voice assistants have been solved by some of the more focused customer service type solutions? Again, I'm not in that space anymore, so I don't know what they're all called, but I know that there are quite a few that do a really good job of and with obviously with chat it's easier, but even with voice, that they can pick up what the customer is saying. Again, it's a constrained use case, but I think maybe the technology is further along in some of those.
Yeah, no. Like for example, phone telephony, right? Like for example, phone telephony, from the get-go, you were able to interrupt. You didn't have to use any wake words. You call and you start talking, and whenever you want to interrupt, you interrupt. The problem there, actually, for the longest time was false interrupts, right? You didn't want to interrupt. You just coughed, right, and it stopped, right? Because it thought you wanted to talk, right? But they've gotten much better there. So I think a lot of the progress has been translated or transferred to these, to the IVR, which are not. There's a category called voice bot, right, which includes all these guys. Anything where it doesn't matter whether it's a phone or a smart speaker or smartphone, and you're talking to a thing in a back and forth. It's called a voice bot, right? And I think the Echo, and then Google after that, I think they've definitely moved the needle for the in terms of the technology stack for sure. Recognition. I think also Google did a big favor, I think, to the space by sort of neutralizing or neutering the biggest enemy in speech technology, in my opinion, ever is nuance, right? Those people,
Yeah.
who were like swatting companies, suing companies, just doing whatever it took for them to remain dominant. And I think there was, for a while, there was like even the Justice Department was looking into, were they infringing?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes, they were
Yeah.
engaging in monopolistic behavior, right? So that really, for the longest time, messed up, I think, the ecosystem. And I'm glad that Amazon came in because they were not in the business of, well, I mean, they were not as nasty as Nuance when it came to speech. I think a lot of innovation came after Echo. A lot of people,
Yeah.
you, me, a lot of people started doing stuff, feeling that they don't have to watch their back now, that they are on a platform that,
Well, Gartner came out with their conversational AI magic quadrant, maybe a month, 3 weeks ago or something. I was kind of interested in it. I mean, there were a lot of companies on there that I didn't even recognize. Nuance was not even on there,
Nuance is now Microsoft, right?
Yeah, but I don't even think Microsoft was on there. I mean, one of the ones that was like at the top was the company that used to be IPsoft. They had a virtual assistant called Amelia, and apparently they've now renamed their company Amelia. I hope they don't end up calling it Amy. Anyway, that's the other thing. There's all these companies that are building these voice bots and stuff, and they're naming them after women. And I don't want to get off on that topic, but I wish they wouldn't do that. There's like more and more of them, and a lot of them do like Amy because it's a short name. And I'm like, it's just only going to be a matter of time before, all the people named Amy are going to be like all the people that were named Alexis.
Well, I think you should definitely you should definitely join the I Am Alexa Alliance. Because what they're doing, those guys, it's not just about Alexa, it's about the whole issue of, are we doing people's identities by robbing them of their name?
How many, just start naming them after guys. I mean, IBM was the only one, right there, Watson. But
after like, I think Astro is a great name.
Yeah. That's from like the Jetson cartoon, isn't it?
It's not. I don't know, but I think probably. But I think that's not a name of a person. That's great. Fine.
Yeah. Well, they originally called it Echo, right? When it first came out.
Was it Echo? I think it was. Yeah. But Echo is a very bad. I think Echo came as a second. I think Alexa.
Okay, let's do a 25-cent bet on that, because I'm pretty sure it was originally Echo, and then for some reason, and I don't know the story behind it, they changed it to I think Echo is better. Well, I mean, what's wrong with Echo?
So I think the device was Echo. I think the wake word was Alexa, but we can bet the 20. Was it, you want $1 or?
So wait a minute. So you're saying the wake word?
I'm
not sure about
that.
No,
for sure. You're right. When it came out, it was mainly Echo, with the wake word being Alexa.
It was.
Yeah. And I remember, because I remember people within the organization lobbying for Echo.
All right. Well, I'll bet you 25 cents. I'm not sure about this. That the original wake word was Echo. You want to take that bet?
Yeah. I think that's an easy 25 cents because I was there. People were lobbying for Echo as a wake word, and then it was done. And then Echo is not a good wake word for the following reason: it just doesn't have enough signal. Echo.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
You can cough, and it thinks you called it its name. And then I think Amazon was probably out of the box. Probably, I'm not sure. Although they didn't, they had computer was out of the box because Bezos wanted it to be there. But they decided to call it Alexa in terms of branding.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll take the bet, and I will keep the folks up to date. I'll tweet it. I'll say, okay, I lost or I won.
I'm not sure how I'll get you the quarter, but I'll see you again eventually, I guess.
We'll keep a ledger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So So the bottom line really is that I thought it would have been a lot further along than we are, right?
Yeah. I
Go ahead.
think, I mean, I kind of think there is also a limit to how far you can take the intent-based model. That's why I do think
Mhm.
we're sort of at a turning point when we're
Mm.
doing things more like GPT-3, and Raza is trying to get away from intent-based models. And I don't know how you feel about that, but
Why don't you explain to the folks what does that mean? Like intent versus non-intent model.
well, with an intent-based model, you have to specify what it is your expectation is. So, what's the weather? That's the intent is I want to get the weather, and then you have an entity in there, which is, maybe the weather or whatever. And that's the way these models work when you're structured, even if you're using dialogue flow, you're trying to figure out specifically what the person is asking for, what the intent is, and it's going to be fulfilled. So it's always like a question, and then I'm going to fulfill it. Now with stuff like GPT-3, what's cool about it is it's trained on these large language models, right? I mean, it's ingested all this information. And so you can start, a GPT-3 trained bot, you can just say, hey, how are you doing? And it'll respond and it'll say, hey, I'm doing fine. How are you? Right. And it'll go on because it knows how to predict just based on what you say and the fact that it has ingested all these language models. It kind of has built like this view of how language works. It may not understand what you're saying, and it may not, understand what it's saying back to you, but it kind of makes sense because it knows every time someone says, hey, how are you doing? The expected response is, I'm doing okay, or I'm not doing okay, or whatever. And if you say, what was happening yesterday, it's going to come back with some kind of response. Well, yesterday it rained a lot, but it didn't matter because I still took my dog out, whatever, because it's a lot of people have said that on Reddit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you can kind of figure out how to keep it within these guardrails, that it doesn't just go off hallucinating, you can have a conversation with it. And guess what? You haven't programmed anything. It's just this neural net that's activated based on you interacting with it. And that, just think about that. Think about when I write something for Storyteller Cafe, I have to come up with a story and I have to script out everything Alex is going to say and what kind of questions he's going to ask and how he's going to respond if you say yes versus no, and then what Mattis is going to say. And with a GPT-3, if you have a bot, you're just opening it up for somebody to talk to, and it's already been pre-trained. It's a pre-trained model. I mean, I'm not scripting anything by hand. I'm not trying to figure out what your intents are. I don't even care. You could talk about anything. You could ask me about what I think about, politics, or what the last movie was that I saw, or even to explain, quantum physics. It knows all of that stuff. Now, it might give you an answer that's not like completely accurate, but it will be able to respond. And the weird thing about it is, or the fascinating thing is, it kind of knows what you're talking about, right? So
Interesting.
Once we get to the point where we can rely on the responses to be accurate, I mean, wow, right? That's going to be, and I don't think we're that far away. I mean, GPT or OpenAI just came out with something where they had done some more kind of supervised training or whatever, and the model has gotten even better. So, and you know how that kind of technology is, it advances exponentially, right? So I think probably a couple of years from now, we'll have bots that we can interact with wherever in the metaverse or something that, you don't even have this intent-based thing. People won't even remember what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking as you were saying that about how I would have said in 2013, somebody had told me that in 2 years you'll have far field. I'd said, oh, it's still too hard, and then it happened. Okay.
Yeah.
I think something like that is going to happen. But I think what's going to happen is, as soon as it gets into the market and people have to make money and you have to market it and you have to do certain things, right? It's going to grind to a halt, right? As it's like
Why
the
do you say
moon.
that? What do you mean?
Well, let's take the moon, right? We went to the moon, right?
Yeah.
And then the moon was The moon was going to the moon has a lot had a lot of political thing behind it, right?
Yeah,
Between Soviets and all that. So there was a lot of motivation, a lot of money was put into it. It's like we got to get there no matter what. And because there was a will and there was the dollars behind it and push and all it happened, right? But once that was done and the race went somewhere else, right? Okay,
yeah,
now we're both in the moon because I think I mean if we had continued instead of it was like a hockey stick and then flat, right? Same thing with Alexa, hockey stick and then flat, right? There's a lot of stuff like that, hockey stick and then flat, like progress doesn't go far. Like the moon, I mean, I could see we could have colonized, we could have created labs there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people could have are able to do in the moon because many things, right? It's different environment. Maybe they go outside weightless, they do all kinds of experiments they can't easily or cheaply do here. I can
right.
see where it could have gone at least not flat, but a little bit, right? But the will, the political will, economic will was not there anymore. Same thing with Alexa. I think the political will, Jeff Bezos, if he symbolizes that, the economic will, people investing in the engineers as opposed to investing in the business development, which is where the money is going. They want to have as many devices as possible, have these Alexa, so you can make money, they can monetize. Because I think they have not made any, they haven't made a dollar, I think yet. A black dollar. I think they're still in the red when it comes to Alexa. So they want to monetize it. I think it's helping them monetize things in an indirect way. But
But
anyway,
you said that but you said that if we got to the point where these intentless models were working, that people would shut them off once they came to
no,
the
no,
market. So I'm still trying to
yeah,
understand what you meant by that.
right,
Why?
yeah, no, I think right now it's basically researchers do fun engineers doing it and all. The business people are not there
Right.
because there's no way to monetize it yet. As soon as there is a way to monetize it, right? As soon as you create a package, a product, right? As soon as Google's money or whoever goes into that, right? Then you're gonna have, I think you're gonna have like, okay, we're gonna have medical ones, and we're gonna have right, where we are going to solve specific problems, and so then we get
Yeah.
into solving those specific problems. So it just feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, right? But it just feels like that's sort of the pattern with these technologies. They do have a burst, and they have a quantum leap, but as soon as they get into the economics of it, as soon as it becomes a business proposition, as soon as it becomes a product that needs to be marketed, some kind of stability sets in, because now you have to get people to understand what it is. Okay, it's this thing, and this is what it does, and we need to make sure that we're not constantly changing it, right, or whatever, right? It just feels like, maybe I'm wrong. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but
But are you saying, I'm still trying to understand. So if we had these bots that you could talk to and they would talk back and they would be factual, and we didn't have to we didn't have to code them, that's obviously a good thing, right? I mean, that's obviously the technology being kind of like where you and I are saying we want it to be. At that point, yeah, it would make sense that people would take that technology and they would use it to solve specific issues, like in the healthcare field, in the in the customer service field. But are you saying then that after that, like the advancement, the growth of technology would just stagnate? Or
yeah, that's what I'm
oh,
saying.
okay,
I'm saying,
I don't know.
I think, for example, because getting the 80% is always doable, right? And then getting
Yeah,
the other 20% is hard, and then you have to continue to push to get there,
well,
right?
well, yeah, but all right, so to go back to the space analogy though real quick, the part of the problem with the moon was that we knew it was like a one-time thing, right? And so after that, we were like, we can't, it's too expensive. We want to have like a reusable system. And that's why they decided to build the shuttle. Well, it turned out the shuttle wasn't a great, the technology was fantastic, but it wasn't what
Yeah.
it was supposed to be, which was reusable. We had to wait for Elon Musk and SpaceX to get the reusable rocket. I'm trying to bring this back to where I was. Okay, so if I think the problem with conversational AI right now is it's too hard to make because it's very brittle. You have to build pretty much everything from scratch, right? For every use case, you have to make it because it's intent based, and because
Yeah.
understanding what people are, the natural language processing, it's too it's bespoke. It's very bespoke. Like going to the moon was very
Yeah.
bespoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's
now what I'm saying is, it's like, well, when Elon builds that starship and he's able to take that starship to Mars, we got the starship. we can go. We could, I mean, yeah, we can't go to Jupiter, but we can keep going to Mars. We can colonize Mars. That's his whole thing is I'm, you know, I want to build that starship. What I'm saying is we're getting to the point where in conversational AI, we're almost at, we almost have the starship. And when you have the starship, you don't have to do a damn thing. It's just going to work. The technology is already built in there. We'll be
Yeah.
able to have bots that talk to us about everything. You know, my doctor will have a bot. I'll talk to my doctor. He'll go over my lab results with me. It'll all be factual. My doctor will be out, you know, like at his swimming pool or something. So I mean, I think we're almost there. Now that has consequences with it too, right? But I do think the starship and conversational AI is coming. I think it's like 5 or 6 years away, and it's going to blow everything completely, you know, out of the water.
Well, I guess my point was this: if we use the Echo as an analogy, we were able to solve the far field problem, right? And the speed of response, we solved it, right?
Right.
But then there were 2 or 3 other problems that we need to solve. But we didn't solve those 2 or 3 problems. The question is, we get the starship, but there are 2 or 3 problems if you could solve, it will just make it perfect. Or the same thing with the conversational AI. We're gonna get to a point, but then there are 2 or 3 problems that if we solved, it would take us to the next level. It just feels like we never take those 2 or 3. That's all. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. I think I agree with you. I think it's exactly like that. It's going to be 2 or 3 years. We're going to get something that blows our mind. And then you and I are going to be frustrated, like, God damn it, why don't we do these 2 things and it's going to make it perfect? And they're like, no, we're busy. We're doing something else. We're selling this thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with, I definitely agree. I see what you're saying now and I agree with it. Because as much as I'm like shocked at how good GPT-3 is, I'm just astonished at how bad it is, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's gonna get better for sure. All right. I mean, I really think there's gonna be like something that blows our mind, just like I continue to be blown by the Echo, but I'm like frustrated, like, but just do these 2 things, and then it's gonna just and then leave us alone. After that, we don't need anything because I can just talk to the thing, and that's just how it feels like. It was same thing with the Starship. I think it's gonna get just to perfection.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, think about self-driving cars.
Yes,
they're you know, we thought self-driving cars were going to be here by now, right? Definitely.
Well, not me. I did not. No, I'm still. Well, but go on. You're an optimist.
Well, I was just saying that because I think I was listening to this. Lex Friedman did a podcast with Jan LeCun the other day, and he, you know, he's like the father of neural networks, right? And he said, there are these remaining like really gnarly problems that exist for fully self-driving cars that we just, you know, it's going to be a lot longer than we thought it was going to take. And I think what, you know, the problem that you and I have is that we're always frustrated by these last remaining really gnarly hard problems that you know, those are going to take decades to solve. I mean, somebody's going to solve them eventually, but
well, my point is not is that they're not gnarly. My point is that they are solvable, and that the business distraction is what. I mean, otherwise I would not be frustrated, because I was not frustrated. I wasn't forever like frustrated, like, how come we can't do far field speech? No, I was not. I was like, this is what it is. And then they solved it, like, oh, okay. Well, then if they solve that, of course they can solve the pause. Have they solved the pause? 7 years later, you know, the pause is still there, right?
Well, maybe it's harder than you think to solve.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think
why don't you solve it then?
No. I'm saying that's good. That's fair enough. I'm saying that Amazon has not solved it. I think Google is making good strides, right? I think they're getting there, right? And I'm because Amazon is, I have like a soft spot for them in the sense that they are the ones who first launched it.
Yeah.
A beautiful thing that remains beautiful. And I'm like,
they do seem to care about it more than the other companies.
No, I think they care. I think the team is great over there. Yeah. I think it's just that they're not getting what they need or something like that, right? They're in terms of whatever. It just feels like they could have solved a couple of those problems with their.
I would like to make another 25-cent bet with you that problem is harder to solve than you think. I don't know how do we figure out who wins that bet, but something just tells me it's got to be harder than you think it is, or they would have solved it by now.
No, I don't think so. I think there are problems that they just, I don't know. There's no way to prove it. Maybe I can get a couple of data points. All I can say is that the Google team has made some progress. That they don't have like, I don't know, they don't have like special, you know, sauce or formula that I don't think so. All right, I think it's just science to solve. These are problems that are well defined. I think they just put in more will. I mean, Google is really a lot more focused, to be honest with you, in terms of getting the user. Of all the companies, Google is the one that's known to be just bad at user experience. The other ones with the Google thing, I have better experience with the Google Home, to be honest with you. With Google,
Yeah.
Google Assistant, it's just more robust. Search, for example, is just mind-boggling because, of course, they are a search company. You can ask it, you can ask that thing anything, and it will give you something useful. It's amazing,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know. It's like it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss for me. I would say, and anecdotally, like 70% of the time,
With
Alexa
Google,
gives me no. Well, no. From my experience has been that 70% of the time, Alexa gives me a better response than Google. She will give me like a more concise response.
really,
And
yeah,
yeah, especially if you
interesting.
ask for something like, what time is the hockey game tonight or whatever.
Oh, I asked things like, I don't know, who was the president who was the vice president of Guatemala in the 60s, and it will give it to me.
Oh, okay.
Because it has,
Yeah.
but no, but I probably you're right about Alexa being more concise for specific things like yeah. Um, well, the hour has gone by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We're out of time.
We're out of time, and I have more things to ask you, but we'll save it for part 2 at some point.
All right. We were too long-winded.
Too long-winded. I think that's what happens when people like you and I start talking shop, right?
Yeah.
We get into interesting conversations. I'll tell you what. So there will be a page about this. There'll be a lot of details, but Hugh, Amy Stapleton, we'll put in anything that you want. So, but if somebody wants to go and find you right now, where would I go?
Well, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. They can just search for Amy Stapleton, NASA, or Chattables. I'm on Twitter at Talks2Bots, and my website is chattables.com.
But tell you what, Amy, it was fun talking to you.
It was great talking to you, Ahmed. Thanks for inviting me again.
Of course, and thanks for making the time. I appreciate it.